Isaiah Carter's hand trembled as he set down his tea, staring at the three identical little girls who'd just cornered him in the hospital cafeteria. Their whispered request hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Pretend you're our father. Just for today. Before our mama dies. He should walk away. He should call security. But something about the desperation in their eyes, and the woman in the ICU bed upstairs, made him freeze. What Isaiah didn't know was that saying yes would expose the secret he'd spent 5 years hiding, destroy the lie he'd built his life on, and put him face to face with the man who'd already tried to kill him once. Before we continue, let me know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give it a like, and share it with someone who'd love this story too. Isaiah Carter sat in the corner of St. Catherine's Hospital cafeteria, table 12, nursing a cup of chamomile tea that had long since gone cold. Around him, the usual Tuesday afternoon chaos hummed, doctors grabbing coffee between rounds, visitors clutching visitor badges, the perpetual beeping of pagers and phones. He was an island of stillness in a sea of motion. 34 years old. Single father. Surgical nurse. Invisible. That's what 5 years of keeping your head down did to a man. You became wallpaper. Background noise. Exactly what Isaiah needed to be. He glanced at his watch, 2:47 p.m. His twin daughters, Kennedy and Jordan, would be out of school in an hour. He had exactly 45 minutes left on his break, and he planned to spend every second of it in this anonymous corner, not making eye contact, not drawing attention, just existing. His phone buzzed. A text from Ms. Patricia, his neighbor who picked up the girls after school. Running late today. Can you grab them? Emergency at church. Isaiah sighed, typed back a quick confirmation, and pocketed his phone. The irony wasn't lost on him, the man who'd once commanded boardrooms and multimillion-dollar deals now rearranging his life around school pickup schedules. But that life was dead. Had to be. Because the alternative was being dead himself. He reached for his car keys, ready to clock out early, when 3 voices spoke in perfect unison behind him. Excuse me, mister. Isaiah turned. 3 identical girls stood at his table, maybe 7 years old, with tight coiled hair pulled back into matching puff balls, wearing purple backpacks that looked too heavy for their small frames. Their brown skin was a shade darker than his own, and their eyes held a desperate intensity that made his chest tighten. Triplets. Are you lost? Isaiah asked gently, scanning the cafeteria for a frantic parent. Do you need help finding someone? We found who we were looking for, the girl on the left said. We've been watching you for 20 minutes, the middle one added. And you're perfect, the right one finished. Isaiah's internal alarms started ringing. He'd spent 5 years being hypervigilant, reading every situation for danger. This felt wrong. Girls, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We need you to pretend you're our father. The words hit him like a physical blow. Isaiah's brain stuttered to a complete halt. I'm sorry, what? The 3 girls exchanged glances, one of those silent sibling conversations that seemed to involve telepathy. Then they leaned forward in perfect synchronization, close enough that Isaiah could smell the strawberry scent of children's shampoo. Their voices dropped to urgent whispers. Our mama is upstairs. Room 447. ICU. The left girl's voice cracked. The doctors say she might not make it through the night. And our father, our real father, he's coming. The middle one's hands clenched into fists. But he's not coming to help. He's coming to take us away from her. We heard the nurses talking, the right one said, tears pooling in her eyes. They said if Mema dies and we don't have family, we go into the system. But if we have a father present, someone the hospital sees taking responsibility, they might let us stay together. Isaiah felt his throat constrict. This was insane. Completely insane. Girls, I can't just, there are laws, procedures. I'm a stranger. You can't ask me to. Please. All 3 voices, perfectly synchronized. Just for today. Just until visiting hours end. We'll never bother you again. We promise. The left girl pulled out a crumpled $20 bill from her backpack. This is everything we have. It's yours. Just please, her voice broke, please don't let them separate us. Isaiah's hands gripped the edge of the table. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to walk away, to not get involved. He'd survived 5 years by staying invisible, by never drawing attention, by never taking risks. But these were children. Terrified children. And he knew exactly what it felt like to watch someone you love die. "What are your names?" he heard himself ask. 3 faces transformed with desperate hope. "I'm Alia," the left girl breathed. "Destiny," the middle one whispered. "Harmony," the right one said softly. "Okay, Alia, Destiny, and Harmony." Isaiah took a breath that felt like stepping off a cliff. "Tell me about your mother. Quick." "What's her name?" "Simone Richardson," Alia said. "She's 32. She was in a car accident 3 days ago. Internal bleeding. They had to operate twice." "And your father?" Isaiah asked carefully. All 3 girls' faces hardened with identical expressions of pure hatred. "Victor Richardson," Destiny spat the name like poison. "He left when we were babies. Told Mama she trapped him, that he never wanted kids. We haven't seen him in 7 years. But now Mama's dying and suddenly he cares." Harmony's voice dripped with bitter wisdom no 7-year-old should possess. "The social worker called him. He's driving up from Atlanta. Should be here any minute. He doesn't want us because he loves us," Alia said flatly. "He wants us because Mama has a life insurance policy. $2 million. And if he's our legal guardian when she dies, he controls everything until we're 18. Isaiah's blood ran cold. He knew men like that. Had worked with them, in his old life. Had been hunted by one. "How do you know all this?" he asked quietly. "We're 7, not stupid," Destiny said. "We listen. Adults think kids don't understand, but we do. We understand that man doesn't love us. That he'll take the money and stick us in some boarding school and forget we exist. We understand that our Mama is dying and there's nothing we can do except," her voice cracked, "except find someone who might help us stay together." "Why me?" Isaiah asked. "Why not someone else?" All 3 girls looked at him with eyes too old for their faces. "Because you look sad too," Harmony said simply. "Like you understand what it feels like to lose everything. And sad people, people who've lost things, they're either really mean or really kind. And you don't look mean." Before Isaiah could respond, a commotion erupted near the cafeteria entrance. A man strode in, 6'2", designer suit that probably cost more than Isaiah's monthly rent, diamond Rolex catching the fluorescent lights. His skin was a rich mahogany, his hair cut in a fade so sharp it looked fresh from the barber's chair. He carried himself with the aggressive confidence of someone who'd never been told no in his life. And if you're still watching at this point, thank you for staying with me. Take a second to subscribe, like this video, and share it. It truly helps this channel grow. Victor Richardson. And walking beside him, matching his stride with predatory grace, was someone who made Isaiah's entire body lock up in recognition and terror. Damon fucking Carver. The man who'd embezzled $40 million from their company. The man who'd framed Isaiah for it. The man who'd tried to have Isaiah killed when he threatened to go to the police. The man Isaiah had been hiding from for 5 years. Isaiah's vision tunneled. His heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape. Every muscle in his body screamed run. Damon Carver was here. In Chicago. In this hospital. Which meant his cover, his carefully constructed life as Isaiah Carter, single dad and surgical nurse, was about to be blown apart. Unless he did something drastic. Isaiah looked at the 3 girls, at their desperate, hopeful faces. Then he looked at Victor Richardson and Damon Carver, who were scanning the cafeteria with the casual arrogance of men who owned every room they entered. He had maybe 30 seconds before they spotted him. 30 seconds to decide, run and save himself, or stay and save 3 little girls. Isaiah Carter, the man who used to be Julian Masters, CFO of Masters and Carver Financial, the man who'd supposedly died in a car fire 5 years ago, made his choice. He stood, straightened his scrubs, and looked at Alia, Destiny, and Harmony. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'm your father. For today. But you follow my lead exactly. Understand? 3 heads nodded in perfect unison. Isaiah took a breath and turned to face the 2 men who'd destroyed his life. Time to see if Julian Masters' ghost could protect Isaiah Carter's future. Victor Richardson's voice boomed across the cafeteria before Isaiah could take 3 steps. Where the hell are my daughters? Heads turned. Conversation stopped. The entire room focused on the impeccably dressed man whose fury filled the space like smoke. Aaliyah's hand found Isaiah's. Small fingers, trembling but determined. Deep breath, Isaiah whispered. Shoulders back. You're not afraid of him. All 3 girls straightened, transforming before his eyes. Isaiah led them forward, positioning himself between the girls and Victor. Behind Victor, Damon Carver's eyes swept the room with calculated precision, and then stopped dead on Isaiah's face. Recognition flickered. Confusion. Then something darker. Sharper. He knows, Isaiah thought. He fucking knows. But Damon said nothing. Just watched. Calculated. Excuse me, Isaiah said, his voice calm and professional. Can I help you? Victor's eyes narrowed, taking in Isaiah's scrubs, his protective stance, the way the girls clustered behind him. Who the hell are you? I'm Isaiah Carter. The lie came smooth as glass. 5 years of practice. And you are? I'm Victor Richardson. Those are my daughters. Victor pointed at the girls like they were property he'd misplaced. Step aside. Actually, Destiny's voice rang out clear and strong. You're not our father. You're the man who abandoned us 7 years ago. Isaiah is our father. The one who's been here every day since Mama got hurt. The lie was delivered with such conviction that several nearby cafeteria workers nodded sympathetically. Victor's face purpled. You little... Mr. Richardson. Isaiah's voice cut through like a blade, sharp enough that Victor actually stepped back. I understand you're upset. But these girls have been through a traumatic experience. Their mother is in critical condition upstairs. Perhaps we could have this conversation somewhere more private. It was a gamble. Every second in Damon Carver's presence was a second closer to exposure. But running now would only raise suspicions. Victor's jaw worked. Then he smiled, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. Of course. How about we go upstairs? See Simone? I'm sure she'd love to clarify who the girl's real father is. Behind him, Damon finally spoke. His voice was silk over steel. Victor, perhaps introductions are in order. I'm Damon Carver. Victor's business consultant. Isaiah forced himself to meet Damon's eyes. Forced his expression to remain neutral, professionally polite. Isaiah Carter. Pleasure. Carter. Damon's head tilted slightly. That's an interesting name. You know, you remind me of someone I used to work with. Man named Julian Masters. Ever heard of him? The cafeteria spun. Isaiah's pulse roared in his ears. But he'd spent 5 years preparing for this moment. 5 years practicing his cover story until it was muscle memory. Can't say I have, Isaiah replied evenly. But I mostly keep to nursing. Not much time for business news with 3 daughters to raise. The emphasis on 3 daughters was deliberate. A reminder that whatever game Damon was playing, there were children present. Damon's smile widened. Of course. My mistake. But his eyes said, I know exactly who you are. And this just got very interesting. Hey buddy, if you're still with me, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with someone who loves a good story. The elevator ride to the 4th floor was suffocating. Victor spent the entire ascent on his phone, loudly discussing stock portfolios and real estate deals. The girls pressed against Isaiah, silent and terrified. Damon stood in the corner, watching Isaiah with the focus of a predator who'd just spotted prey. When the doors opened, Aaliyah whispered, Room 447 is at the end of the hall. Mama doesn't know we left. We told the nurse we were going to the cafeteria for snacks. Good girl, Isaiah murmured. When we get to the room, let me do the talking. The ICU was a maze of beeping machines and hushed conversations. Nurses moved with efficient purpose. The smell of antiseptic burned Isaiah's nose, familiar from his shifts, but oppressive now under the weight of what he was about to do. Room 447's door was half open. Inside, a woman lay in the hospital bed, so small and still she barely made an impression under the white sheets. Tubes ran from her arms. A ventilator breathed for her in steady, mechanical rhythm. Machines monitoring her vitals beeped soft alarms. Simone Richardson. Even unconscious, even broken, she was striking. High cheekbones, skin like polished amber, hair in neat braids someone had clearly maintained despite her condition. She looked like her daughters, or rather, they looked like her. Same bone structure, same elegant features. She looked nothing like she was dying. But Isaiah could read the monitors. Could see the numbers that told him her organs were failing, her body shutting down system by system. She had maybe 24 hours. 48 if she was extraordinarily lucky. The girls rushed to her bedside. Aliyah took her mother's hand gently, careful of the four. Destiny pressed her face against Simone's shoulder. Harmony just stood there, tears streaming silently down her face. Victor stopped in the doorway, his expression unreadable. For a moment, just a moment, something that might have been grief flickered across his features. Then it hardened into calculation. "Simone," he said softly. "I'm here. I came as soon as I heard." No response. Just the ventilator's mechanical breathing. Victor turned to the nurse at the monitoring station outside. "I'm Victor Richardson. Father of her children. What's her prognosis?" The nurse, a middle-aged black woman named Teresa who Isaiah had worked with dozens of times, glanced at her charts. "Are you listed as her emergency contact, sir?" "I'm the father of her children," Victor repeated, as if that answered the question. "That's not what I asked." Victor's jaw clenched. "Listen, I don't have time for—" "Her emergency contact is listed as Patricia Moreno," Teresa continued, unimpressed by his posturing. "Neighbor. She's been here every day. Are you Mr. Richardson?" "Yes." "Ms. Richardson's chart indicates you're not authorized to receive medical information." Teresa's voice was polite steel. "If you'd like to contest that, you'll need to speak with our patient advocate and provide legal documentation of your relationship." "I'm her husband," Victor snapped. "Ex-husband," Aliyah's voice cut through the tension. "Mema divorced you when we were 2. You're not her husband. You're not her emergency contact. You're not anything." Victor's hand moved, just a twitch, but Isaiah saw it. Saw the impulse to strike, quickly suppressed. Isaiah stepped forward, placing himself between Victor and the girls again. "Mr. Richardson, I think we all need to take a breath. This is a hospital. These girls are grieving. Whatever legal issues exist, they can be resolved through proper channels." "Proper channels?" Victor's laugh was bitter. "You mean after she dies and her life insurance policy pays out? After these 3 get $2 million split between them? Is that what you're after, Isaiah? Playing daddy to 3 little girls so you can get your hands on their inheritance?" The accusation hung in the air. Several nurses had stopped their work, listening. Isaiah felt rage building in his chest, clean, white-hot fury. But he'd learned to control that too. 5 years of disappearing had taught him discipline. "I'm after nothing except making sure 3 traumatized children don't lose their mother and their family in the same week," Isaiah said quietly. "If you're truly here because you care about your daughters, prove it. Be present. Be kind. Be the father you should have been 7 years ago. And if I'm here for the money—" Victor's smile was a challenge. "Then you'll have to go through me." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Victor took a step forward. Isaiah didn't budge. Behind them, Damon Carver's voice sliced through the tension. "Gentlemen, perhaps this conversation would be better suited for somewhere more private? The hospital administrator's office, maybe?" He was watching Isaiah with laser focus. Studying every micro-expression, every reaction. And Isaiah realized with cold certainty, Damon wasn't just suspicious. He was testing. Pushing buttons to see how Isaiah would react. Looking for proof that the dead man standing in front of him was actually Julian Masters. Which meant Isaiah had to do something Julian would never do. Julian Masters would fight. Would escalate. Would use his money and power and connections to crush Victor Richardson. Isaiah Carter was just a nurse. A single dad. Someone who avoided conflict. So Isaiah did the hardest thing he'd ever done, he backed down. "You're right," Isaiah said, stepping back, hands raised in surrender. "I apologize. This isn't the place. Girls, why don't you stay with your mother? I'll be right outside if you need anything." He turned to leave, and found Damon blocking the doorway. "Before you go, Isaiah," Damon said, his voice friendly, conversational, dangerous, "I'm curious. How long have you known Simone and the girls?" Isaiah's mind raced. How to answer? Too long, and it would be checkable. Too short, and Victor would use it against him. "About 6 months, Isaiah said. "We met at the girls' school. I volunteer in the after-school program." It was a lie built on a foundation of truth. Isaiah did volunteer at his own daughter's school. Easy to verify the volunteer work, impossible to verify which school without raising more questions. 6 months. Damon's smile widened. That's not very long to be playing father to someone else's children. "Long enough to see they needed someone," Isaiah replied. "Long enough to care. Caring is expensive." Damon's eyes bored into him. Especially when life insurance policies are involved. And there it was. The real accusation. Not that Isaiah was opportunistic, that he was Julian Masters, alive and well, with the financial acumen to recognize a $2 million opportunity. Isaiah forced a laugh. "I'm a surgical nurse making $42,000 a year with 2 kids of my own. Trust me, I'm not in this for money I'll never see. I'm in this because 3 little girls asked me for help and I couldn't say no." It was the perfect answer. Humble. Self-deprecating. Completely beneath Julian Masters' dignity. Damon studied him for a long moment. Then he stepped aside. "Of course. Forgive me. Victor's situation has made me suspicious of everyone. Old habits from the financial world." "No offense taken," Isaiah said, moving past him into the hallway. But as he walked away, he heard Damon's voice, soft and certain. "We'll talk again soon, Isaiah." "I'm sure of it." Isaiah made it to the staff bathroom before his knees gave out. He locked the door, braced himself against the sink, and tried to remember how to breathe. Damon Carver. Here. Alive. Partnered with Victor Richardson. It couldn't be coincidence. Couldn't be. Which meant... Isaiah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. His hand shook as he answered. "Hello. Julian." Damon's voice, smooth and satisfied. "Or should I call you Isaiah? I have to admit, the transformation is impressive. Different name, different career, different city. You even changed your walk. Very thorough." Isaiah's blood turned to ice. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Please. We worked together for 8 years. I know you better than you know yourself." Damon's laugh was cold. "The question is, what are you doing in Chicago, alive and well, when you're supposed to be dead in Miami?" "You tried to kill me," Isaiah said flatly. "No point in pretending anymore. You embezzled $40 million, framed me for it, and hired someone to run me off the road." "I hired someone to scare you," Damon corrected. "The fire was unfortunate. Excessive. I wanted you silent, not dead. Though I'll admit, when they pulled a body from the wreckage, I didn't ask too many questions." "Whose body was it?" "Does it matter? Someone who doesn't matter. Someone nobody missed." Damon's voice hardened. "What matters is that you're alive. Which means you could testify. Could expose everything I've built over the last 5 years." "I have no interest in exposing you," Isaiah said. "I just want to live my life." "With Victor Richardson's daughters? That's your life now?" "I'm helping 3 kids. That's it." "Bullshit." The word cracked like a whip. "You don't do anything without an angle. You're Julian Masters. You don't volunteer at schools and play daddy for free. So what's the play? The life insurance? Access to Simone's estate?" "There is no play," Isaiah said through clenched teeth. "I'm not that person anymore." "People don't change, Julian. They just get better at hiding." Then you should know, Isaiah said quietly, that I'm very, very good at hiding now. And if you come after me, if you threaten these girls or my daughters, I'll stop hiding. I'll go to the FBI with everything I know about your operation. Every account. Every transaction. Every lie. Silence on the other end. Then, you kept records. Insurance. In case you ever found me. More silence. Isaiah could almost hear Damon recalculating, reassessing. Here's what's going to happen, Damon finally said. You're going to walk away from Victor's daughters. Today. Now. You're going to disappear back into your little nurse life, and we're going to pretend this conversation never happened. And if I don't, then I'll make sure everyone knows Julian Masters is alive. The FBI. The IRS. Every creditor and investor you defrauded, according to public record. Your face will be on every news channel. Your new daughters will learn their daddy is a wanted criminal. Is that really what you want? Isaiah's hand tightened on the phone. You're threatening my children. I'm offering you a choice. Walk away, stay hidden, live your quiet life. Or help Victor's daughters and lose everything, including your freedom. The line went dead. Isaiah stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. The man looking back was a stranger. Isaiah Carter, surgical nurse, single father, invisible. Safe. But Julian Masters was still in there. Under the surface. Waiting. And Julian Masters didn't walk away from fights. Isaiah pulled out his phone and dialed a number he'd memorized 5 years ago but never called. 3 rings. Then a crisp, professional voice, FBI Financial Crimes Division. How may I direct your call? I need to speak with Agent Monica Torres, Isaiah said. Tell her Julian Masters is alive. And I'm ready to talk. There was a stunned pause. Then, please hold. Isaiah splashed cold water on his face and walked back to room 447. He'd spent 5 years running from his past. Time to let it catch up. But first, he had 3 little girls to protect. When Isaiah returned to room 447, the scene had transformed. Victor was on his phone, pacing, his voice low and intense. Damon stood by the window, watching the Chicago skyline with the detached interest of a man calculating his next move. The girls sat vigil by their mother's bedside, small hands clutching hers, whispering prayers or promises or goodbyes. Teresa, the nurse, caught Isaiah's eye and gestured for him to follow her to the nurse's station. Mr. Carter, she said quietly, I don't know what's happening in there, but something feels wrong. That man, Victor, has been making calls to lawyers. Asking about guardianship laws, expedited custody proceedings. He's already positioning to take those girls the minute their mother passes. Can he do that? Isaiah asked. If he's the biological father and there's no one else with legal standing? Yes. Teresa's expression was grim. Family court will favor biological parents unless there's documented abuse or abandonment. And 7 years ago is a long time. A good lawyer could argue he's rehabilitated, that he wants a second chance. Those girls will tell the court they don't want to go with him. They're 7 years old. The court will consider their wishes, but ultimately, the law favors biological parents. Teresa paused. Unless there's another option. Someone else with legal standing to contest custody. Isaiah understood immediately. Their mother would have to designate someone. In writing. While she's still competent. She's been in and out of consciousness. But there have been moments, brief ones, where she's responsive. Teresa glanced at the room. If you're serious about helping those girls, now would be the time. Isaiah looked through the window. At Alia, Destiny, and Harmony, sitting with their dying mother. At Victor, already counting his inheritance. At Damon, the ghost of Isaiah's past. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Agent Torres en route. ETA 45 minutes. Do not engage suspects until arrival. 45 minutes. That's all he had to wait. Then the FBI would arrest Damon, Victor would be exposed, and Isaiah could fade back into obscurity. Safe. Smart. Survival. But 45 minutes might be too long. Simone Richardson's vitals were deteriorating on the monitors. Her breathing was becoming labored even with the ventilator's assistance. She might not have 45 minutes. Isaiah made his decision. He walked into room 447, directly to Simone's bedside. The girls looked up at him with desperate hope. Teresa said there might be a window, Aliyah whispered. When Mema wakes up. It doesn't last long, but she knows us. She can hear us. Then we wait, Isaiah said, pulling up a chair. Together. Victor's voice cut across the room. You're not family. You don't belong here. Isaiah didn't turn. The girls want me here. That's enough. It's really not, Damon interjected smoothly. Hospital policy states. Hospital policy states that patients can designate who they want present, Teresa said from the doorway, her arms crossed. And until Simone Richardson regains consciousness to say otherwise, these girls get to make that call. They want Isaiah here. So he stays. Victor's face purpled. This is insane. I'm calling my lawyer. Please do, Teresa replied. And while you're at it, explain to them why you abandoned your daughters for 7 years and only showed up when there was money involved. The room went silent. Then, impossibly, Simone's eyes fluttered open. Mama! All three girls lunged forward. Simone's gaze was unfocused at first, struggling to orient. Then she saw her daughters and something in her expression cracked, love and grief and desperate determination all at once. Babies, she whispered, her voice raw from the ventilator tube they'd recently removed. My sweet babies. Mama, we're here, Destiny sobbed. We're right here. Simone's eyes tracked across the room. Landed on Victor. Her expression hardened despite her weakness. Get out, she rasped. Simone, please. Get out. Each word cost her, but she forced them anyway. You don't get to be here. Not after everything. Victor's jaw worked. I'm their father. You were a sperm donor, Simone said with venomous clarity. Nothing more. You don't get to play daddy now that I'm dying. The girls need someone who loves them. Simone's breathing was labored. Not someone who sees dollar signs. Teresa stepped forward with a clipboard. Ms. Richardson, I need to ask you something while you're conscious. Do you have a will? Legal documents designating guardianship for your daughters in the event of your death. Simone's eyes filled with tears. I kept putting it off. Thought I had time. I'm only 32. I thought, her voice broke. Mama, it's okay, Aliyah said, holding her hand. We'll be okay. But they all knew that was a lie. Without legal documentation, the girls would go to Victor. And there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Isaiah found himself standing. Moving to the bedside. Meeting Simone's gaze. Ms. Richardson, he said quietly, my name is Isaiah Carter. I'm a surgical nurse here. Your daughters asked me to help them today. To pretend to be their father so that they wouldn't be separated when he couldn't finish the sentence. Simone's eyes sharpened, studying him with an intensity that belied her physical condition. You're the stranger they recruited. Yes. Why did you say yes? Isaiah thought about lying. About giving some noble, selfless answer. But Simone Richardson deserved the truth. Because I have twin daughters of my own, he said. 7 years old. And I know what it's like to be terrified of losing them. I know what it's like to want someone, anyone, to protect them when you can't. Your girls asked me for help. I couldn't say no. Simone stared at him. Then, impossibly, she smiled. You have an honest face. I'm told I'm a terrible liar, Isaiah said, which was both true and the biggest lie he'd told all day. Teresa, Simone said, her voice gaining strength from some final reserve of will, I want to make an emergency designation. Legal guardianship. In case. You can't be serious, Victor exploded. You're going to give my daughters to a complete stranger? A man you met 5 minutes ago? Better a good stranger than a bad father, Simone said simply. She looked at her daughters. Babies, is this what you want? Isaiah as your guardian? If I don't, if I can't. Yes, all three girls said in unison. We trust him, Mma, Alia said. His kind, Destiny added. He stood up to the scary man, Harmony finished, pointing at Victor. Simone's eyes found Isaiah again. Will you protect them? Love them? Keep them together? And here it was. The moment of choice. Isaiah could say no. Could walk away. Could let the FBI handle Damon, let family court handle Victor, let the system handle 3 orphan girls. Safe. Smart. Survival. Or he could do what Julian Masters never would have done, put someone else first. I will, Isaiah said. I swear it. Simone nodded. Teresa, the paperwork. But before Teresa could move, Damon's voice cut through the room like a knife. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Julian. Every head turned. Damon stood with his phone out, screen facing the room. On it was a photo, Julian Masters, 5 years ago, in a business suit, shaking hands with investors at a charity gala. And standing next to him was Isaiah, wearing the exact same face he had right now. Everyone, Damon said pleasantly, let me introduce you to Julian Masters. Wanted by the FBI for embezzlement, fraud, and about 14 other financial crimes. He faked his death 5 years ago and has been living in Chicago under a false identity ever since. Simone's eyes widened. Teresa stepped back. The girls looked confused. Victor's expression shifted from anger to predatory interest. Well, that's quite the secret, Isaiah. Isaiah's hands clenched. Every instinct screamed to run, to fight, to do something. But he'd made a promise. To 3 little girls who'd trusted a stranger. So instead, he did something Julian Masters had never done. He told the complete truth. My real name is Julian Masters, he said quietly. 5 years ago, I was CFO of a financial firm in Miami. My partner, Damon Carver, embezzled $40 million and framed me for it. When I threatened to go to the authorities, he tried to have me killed. I faked my death to survive, changed my identity, and started over in Chicago as a nurse. Silence. Complete, stunned silence. Then Simone's voice, weak but clear. Did you take the money? No. Damon did. I have proof, account records, transaction logs, everything needed to prove my innocence. I've been waiting for the right moment to turn it over to the FBI. And when is that moment? Isaiah pulled out his phone, showed the text from Agent Torres. About 30 minutes from now. Damon's expression went from smug to dangerous in an instant. You called the FBI. I called them the moment you threatened my daughters, Isaiah said. I've spent 5 years running. I'm done. You're going to prison, Damon. Today. You think they'll believe you? Damon's laugh was harsh. You're a fugitive. A liar. A dead man using a stolen identity. Your word is worth nothing. Maybe, Isaiah conceded. But the financial records don't lie. And I'm guessing the FBI will be very interested in your current partnership with Victor Richardson. What's the scam this time? Life insurance fraud? Custody battle to access Simone's money? I'm sure it's elegant. You always were creative. Victor's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? So Damon just happened to be in Chicago with you, at this hospital, at this exact moment? That's one hell of a coincidence. Isaiah turned to Teresa. Call security. Tell them to lock down the ICU. Nobody leaves until the FBI arrives. Damon moved fast, faster than Isaiah expected. One moment he was by the window, the next he had Alia by the arm, pulling her away from the bed. Nobody's calling anyone, Damon said coldly. Or the girl gets hurt. The room exploded into chaos. Simone tried to sit up, her monitors screaming alarms. Destiny and Harmony lunged for their sister. Teresa hit the emergency call button. Victor backed toward the door. But Isaiah went completely still. Because he knew Damon. Knew exactly how far the man would go to protect himself. Let her go, Isaiah said quietly. This is between us. You're right, Damon agreed. It is. You destroyed my life, Julian. You were supposed to stay dead. I was never supposed to die, Isaiah shot back. You embezzled that money. You framed me. You tried to have me killed. All of this, everything, is because you couldn't stand the idea of someone being better than you. Better? Damon's laugh was ugly. You were a pencil pusher. A numbers man. I built that company from nothing, and you were going to destroy it with your moral grandstanding about ethics and fiduciary responsibility. You were a liability. I was your partner. You were a mistake. Damon's grip on Aliyah tightened. The little girl whimpered. And you're about to be a dead mistake. Again. Isaiah's mind raced. Security would arrive in minutes. The FBI in less than 30. All he had to do was keep Damon talking, keep the situation from escalating. But then Simone's voice cut through the tension, strong despite her condition. Mr. Carver, you're a coward. Damon's eyes snapped to her. Excuse me? A coward, Simone repeated. Hiding behind a 7-year-old girl. Real tough. Real strong. She coughed, and blood flecked her lips. My daughters are braver than you'll ever be. Mama, don't, Aliyah whispered. But Simone kept going. They recruited a stranger to protect their family. They faced the man who abandoned them. They asked for help when they needed it. Her eyes locked on Damon. You? You steal. You threaten children. You hide. That's not strength. That's pathetic. For a moment, Damon's composure cracked. Rage twisted his features. Isaiah saw his opening. He moved. 5 years ago, Julian Masters had been a gym regular, someone who'd taken self-defense classes as a networking opportunity. Isaiah Carter had maintained those skills out of paranoia, training in his basement late at night when his daughters were asleep. Now, those skills saved Aliyah's life. Isaiah's hand chopped down on Damon's wrist, hard, precise, exactly where the nerves clustered. Damon's grip spasmed open. Aliyah dropped. Isaiah caught her, spun, shoved her toward her sisters. Damon swung wild, his fist connecting with Isaiah's jaw. Pain exploded through his skull. He tasted blood. But Isaiah had spent 5 years being afraid. Being careful. Being small. He was done being small. He drove his shoulder into Damon's chest, slamming him back against the wall. Pictures rattled. Machines beeped in alarm. Security! Teresa was screaming into the intercom. ICU room 447. Security now! Damon's knee came up, catching Isaiah in the ribs. Air whooshed out of his lungs. He stumbled back. Then Victor was moving, not to help Damon, but toward the girls. If this all goes south, Victor snarled, I'm getting what I came for. He lunged for destiny. And Isaiah realized with horrible clarity, he couldn't protect everyone. Couldn't stop Damon and Victor both. But he didn't have to. Because Simone Richardson, dying woman that she was, ripped the four from her arm and threw her water pitcher directly at Victor's head. It connected with a satisfying crack. Victor went down hard, clutching his skull. That's for 7 years of child support, Simone gasped. Then she collapsed back against her pillows, her strength spent. Security burst through the door, 4 guards, all business. They took in the scene, Damon against the wall, Victor on the floor, Isaiah bleeding, the girls huddled around their mother. Restrain both of them, Isaiah said, pointing at Damon and Victor. They're wanted by the FBI. Agent Torres is en route. On whose authority? One guard demanded. Isaiah pulled out his phone, showed the text from Agent Torres. Mine. I'm Julian Masters. I'm the witness in the Carver financial case. And those 2 are my proof. The ICU looked like a crime scene. FBI agents swarmed room 447. Agent Monica Torres, a sharp-eyed Latino woman in her 40s, was taking statements. Damon and Victor sat in handcuffs, separated, both making calls to their lawyers. Isaiah sat in the hallway, an ice pack pressed to his jaw, while a different nurse checked his vitals. You're an idiot, Teresa told him bluntly. Fighting in a hospital. In an ICU. You could have gotten someone killed. I know, Isaiah said quietly. You also saved those girls. I know that too. Teresa shook her head. The paperwork on this is going to be a nightmare. Agent Torres approached, her expression unreadable. Mr. Masters. Or should I call you Mr. Carter? Isaiah is fine, he said tiredly. Julian Masters died 5 years ago. I'd like to keep it that way, if possible. That depends on several factors. Torres sat next to him. We've been looking for you for a long time. Do you have the financial records you mentioned? The proof that Damon Carver embezzled the money? Isaiah pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Everything. Account numbers, transaction logs, correspondence. Enough to put Damon away for 20 years, minimum. Torres took it like it was made of gold. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Because I was terrified. Because I thought nobody would believe me. Because starting over as Isaiah Carter, surgical nurse, single father, it felt safer than fighting as Julian Masters, accused criminal. Isaiah looked at her. I was wrong. I know that now. But I needed to survive long enough to protect my daughters. Your daughters? Kennedy and Jordan, right? We found records of their adoption. Under your legal name, Isaiah Carter. Isaiah's blood went cold. You can't, they don't know about Julian Masters. Please. They're innocent in all this. I have no interest in hurting your daughters, Mr. Masters. But we do need your testimony. And that means your identity will likely become public. I understand. Do you? Because once this goes to trial, everyone will know who you are. Your neighbors. Your colleagues. Your daughter's school. There's no going back to invisible after this. Isaiah thought about Kennedy and Jordan. About the life he'd built for them in Chicago. Safe. Quiet. Normal. Then he thought about Aaliyah, Destiny, and Harmony. About Simone Richardson, dying to protect her children. About the choice between safe and right. I'm ready, Isaiah said. Whatever it takes. Torres studied him. Then nodded. Okay. We'll need you to come downtown, make a formal statement. But first, she gestured toward room 447. There are 3 little girls who'd like to see you. Isaiah walked back into room 447 with his heart in his throat. Simone was conscious again, barely. The doctors had sedated her, trying to stabilize her condition. But she'd fought the medication long enough to stay awake. Isaiah, she whispered. He sat beside her bed. The girls clustered around, silent witnesses. I'm sorry, Isaiah said. For the danger. For the fight. For bringing the FBI here and turning everything into chaos. You protected my babies, Simone said. That's all that matters. The guardianship paperwork, Teresa interrupted gently. We need to complete it now, while you're still conscious and competent. Just in case. Simone's eyes found Isaiah's. Will you still do it? Even though everyone knows who you are? Even though it's complicated? Isaiah thought about his own daughters. About explaining to them why their father was actually someone else, why they'd lived under false identities, why everything they knew was built on protective lies. He thought about adding 3 more children to that complicated, messy, beautiful chaos. And he realized he'd already made this choice. The moment he'd stood up to Damon. The moment he'd called the FBI. The moment he'd promised 3 little girls he'd keep them together. Yes, Isaiah said firmly. If something happens to you, and I pray it doesn't, I will take care of Aaliyah, Destiny, and Harmony. I will love them like my own. I will keep them together. I promise. Simone's tears fell freely. Thank you. Teresa produced the paperwork. Simone signed with a trembling hand. 2 nurses witnessed. It was done. Mama's going to be okay, Destiny whispered. Right? She has to be okay. But Isaiah was a nurse. He could read the monitors. Could see what the doctors weren't saying out loud. Simone Richardson had hours. Maybe less. What Isaiah didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Simone's car accident had been no accident at all. Victor Richardson, desperate for his ex-wife's life insurance payout, had hired someone to tamper with her brakes. The plan was simple: make it look like an accident, collect the insurance money through his daughter's guardianship, and disappear with millions. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd hired Damon Carver as a consultant to help navigate the legal complications. And Damon, always looking for an angle, had documented everything. Now, sitting in FBI custody, Damon made a deal. "I want full immunity," he told Agent Torres. "And witness protection." "In exchange for what?" Torres asked. "Proof that Victor Richardson tried to murder his ex-wife. Recordings of our conversations. Financial records showing the hired hit. Everything you need to put him away for attempted murder and insurance fraud." Torres leaned back in her chair. "And Julian Masters? Your former partner?" "I lied about Julian embezzling the money," Damon admitted. "It was me. All of it. Julian threatened to expose me, so I framed him and tried to have him killed. I'll testify to all of it in exchange for immunity." "Why?" Torres asked. "Why turn on Victor but protect Julian?" Damon's smile was bitter. "Because Victor is an amateur. A thug with delusions of sophistication. But Julian..." He shook his head. "Julian Masters is the smartest man I've ever known. And he just proved it. He stayed hidden for 5 years, built a new life, and then emerged exactly when it would destroy me most completely. That's not luck. That's strategy. I respect that. And I don't want him as an enemy anymore." Within an hour, Agent Torres had enough evidence to not only exonerate Julian Masters completely, but to arrest Victor Richardson for attempted murder. And 48 hours later, when doctors reviewed Simone Richardson's case with fresh eyes, they discovered something they'd initially missed: a rare blood clotting disorder triggered by the accident, treatable with aggressive intervention. They operated, removed the clots, stabilized her vitals. Simone Richardson didn't die. She lived. Isaiah Carter, legally Julian Masters again, though everyone still called him Isaiah, stood in his kitchen making pancakes for 5 children. Kennedy and Jordan, his twin daughters, were arguing about whose turn it was to pick the next movie. Aaliyah, Destiny, and Harmony were teaching them a handclap game from their old school. It was chaos. Beautiful, exhausting chaos. Simone walked in from the living room, moving slowly but steadily. 6 months of recovery had been brutal, but she was alive. Stubborn. Determined. And she was smiling. "How are the breakfast preparations going?" she asked. "Pancakes are burning," Isaiah admitted. "But the kids are happy, so I'm calling it a win." Simone laughed, a real laugh, full and warm. "You're a terrible cook." "I'm a nurse, not a chef." "You're also a former CFO of a multimillion-dollar financial firm. Somehow I think you could figure out pancakes." Isaiah flipped a pancake that was definitely too dark on one side. "Finances are logical. Pancakes are art." The local news played softly in the background. The anchor was discussing the trial. Victor Richardson had been sentenced to 25 years for attempted murder and fraud. Damon Carver had entered witness protection after testifying against his former partner. And Julian Masters had been completely exonerated. All charges dropped. His name cleared. But he wasn't going back to finance. He was staying in nursing. Staying in Chicago. Staying with the family he'd built from broken pieces. "Isaiah." Simone's voice was soft. "Yeah. The girls and we've been talking. About everything. About the future." Isaiah's heart clenched. "If you want to take them and go, I understand. You're their mother. They belong with you. I want you to adopt them." Isaiah froze. "What?" "Legally adopt them. As their second parent." Simone's eyes were bright. "You saved their lives. You kept them together. You promised to love them, and you've kept that promise every single day for 6 months. I want to make it official." "Simone, I already have 2 daughters. And I'm still sorting out my legal status. And You're their father," Simone interrupted. "Not biologically. But in every way that matters. And I want them to have that. Permanently." The kitchen had gone silent. 5 little girls stood in the doorway, watching. "Please, Isaiah," Aaliyah said. "We want you to be our dad. For real. Not pretend anymore," Destiny added. "Forever," Harmony finished. Isaiah looked at Kennedy and Jordan, his daughters. They were grinning. We already told them yes, Kennedy said. We want sisters. Big family is better than small family, Jordan added with the unassailable logic of a 7-year-old. Isaiah felt his throat tighten. 5 years ago, he'd lost everything. His career. His identity. His life. Now he had more than he'd ever imagined. Okay, he whispered. Yes. I'll adopt them. The kitchen exploded in cheers. 5 girls piled on him in a group hug. Simone joined them, laughing and crying at the same time. The pancakes burned completely. Nobody cared. That night, after the girls were in bed, Isaiah sat on his porch with a cup of tea. The Chicago skyline glittered in the distance. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on your family. You earned it. D. Damon Carver. In witness protection somewhere, starting over just like Isaiah had 5 years ago. Isaiah stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back. Second chances are real. Use yours better than I used my first one. He hit send, then blocked the number. Some ghosts needed to stay buried. But some stories, some families, deserve to be told. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say yes when every instinct screams no. Isaiah Carter lost everything, his identity, his career, his entire life. But he gained something far more valuable, a family built on love, not blood. On choice, not obligation. On courage, not convenience. This story isn't about money or power or revenge. It's about 3 little girls who refused to let their mother die alone, a broken man who found redemption in helping strangers, and a woman who fought death itself to protect her children. Real family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when you need them most. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more stories about courage, redemption, and the power of choosing love over fear. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have said yes to those 3 girls? What would you have done in Isaiah's shoes? Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the family you choose is the family you were always meant to have.